The Fed leaves interest rates right where they're at with the Fed funds rate. They make some interesting comments, which means they just, regardless of the data, will not stop believing that the tariffs are going to come, going to raise inflation, and means that we need rates higher for longer.
Don't stop believing.
So the Fed is definitely having a problem to quit believing that tariffs are going to come and impact the inflation rate. And they've been hanging their hat on the fact that unemployment has been so steady, and unemployment is kind of in their target, not really going up too much. And then we get this jobs report today, and man, does it blow the Fed out of the water as far as what they've been saying. So before we get into that, here's something Jerome Powell said concerning housing that I thought was interesting. He said, housing is a special case. We don't see mortgage rates, we don't set mortgage rates at the Fed, we set the overnight, basically the Fed funds rate. But here's what he said, there are other things going on in the housing sector, and one of those is just that there is a long-term housing shortage, that we haven't built enough housing. This is not something the Fed can help with, and that'll be the case even after things normalize. So I think the best thing we can do for housing is to have the 2% inflation and maximum employment, and that's what we can contribute to housing. Said differently, the Fed saying we're basically going to keep rates higher for longer. If employment's good and we've got strong employment and we are not in our 2% inflation rate, let's just, keep rates higher for longer. Meanwhile, other countries are lowering rates and they're trying to get in front of this. Another interesting thing from Reuters is saying that Fed's reticence on rate cuts force market to rethink outlook. And so they say right here, traders back away from bets on interest rate cuts in September. So all this lining up for Fed to stay higher for longer. Then today we get this jobs report with revisions showing that the job market is not as strong as the Fed is saying. Unemployment actually ticks up 1/8%, not a ton, or 1/10%, but all of this flying in the face of what Jerome Powell just said. And is the market believing what the Fed is saying? This is the tracker that we look at to see what is the prediction for the next meeting. There's not a meeting in August. This is in September. I looked at this a couple days ago and it was at 50%. Then it's 60%. Now it's almost at 90% that the market thinks the Fed is going to cut rates in September. So regardless of what the Fed is believing, I believe, I've said this for a while, the Fed is going to cut rates in September, hopefully 1/4%. We want them to do little micro cuts on the way down, not big cuts like they did on the way up, so they can actually not spook the markets. Because look, no one knows what's going to happen with the tariffs, but the Fed should be cutting based on the data as it is right now. That's what the market believes the Fed will do, and I do as well. As far as this new report from Zillow, Zillow updates home price forecast for over 400 housing markets, and they basically are saying that they published their 12-month forecast projecting that U.S. home prices, as measured by the Zillow Home Value Index, is the index that they do, that homes will fall 1% from June 2025 to June 2026. Most important thing, noting they were predicting a 2.6% increase. And why did Zillow downgrade the forecast for national home prices? Rise in listings, rates potentially being higher for longer, and just more inventory in the market is going to keep prices flat or dropping. Now, a 1 to 2% decline is not a housing correction. It's basically a small blip in the radar, and if rates start falling, you're going to see, just like we went from 2.6 to 1%, all these forecasts are going to get revised. And when we look actually a little deeper here, I wanted to look at their map here. So this is all of the United States. Let's kind of click in here and look at Florida. And let me zoom in here. And we have Orlando, they saying a negative 1.5% increase decrease over the next 12 months. Deltona, negative 1.9. Let's look in the Southwest here. Cape Coral, negative 2.9. Northport, where is Punta Gorda, 4%. And Miami, actually really just kind of flat. This is all to say, this is very simplified economic. I'm not an economist, but this is simple. We got 8% rates We did not get a housing correction. We did get more inventory and the market is softer. If you are a buyer, this is the time to be jumping into the market, because as rates fall, every time we've hit 6%, mortgage applications just go through the roof. We are going to get lower rates. That is going to happen. How low, we shall see. But the Fed is going to start getting pushed into cutting rates. Now, even with that, look at total existing home sales fell below 4 million. That is a big drop. We've been kind of stuck in this 4 to 3.9 million here for a while, down from 6.5 million. And at the same time, median home price continuing to climb. Again, and as this inventory drops, unfortunately, it's just likely going to make housing prices continue to go to increase, which, look, I personally don't want to see housing prices increase, but we do need to see rates come down. I think that's likely to happen. And as the Fed cuts rates, you're going to see more buyers enter the market, more demand, and more housing inventory come online at certain rates, because it's going to release a lot of inventory that's been locked up. Now, as far as rates go, today is the first time we've seen any type of significant move. We have just bounced between 7 and 6.75 for such a long time. Today is the first time we broke below that, right? We are now saying about 6.63 as an average. Now, remember, this is with points and bigger down payments, and people are getting higher rates than this. These are kind of the best of the best, but it is showing the trend is finally to drop. And we haven't really had this trend drop like this to really April of 2025. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens. If we get more bad job data in August, there's going to be not only a chance for a rate cut of 1/4, maybe 0.5%. I don't think that's going to happen. But all things are on the table, especially if unemployment were to tick up again in August. We shall see. By the way, Hometown Heroes came out. It's going to be launching on August 18th. I guess the announcement came out. If you're a buyer, don't time the market. Buy when it's in your favor, which is right now. So as more information becomes available that moves the market, as always, I'm going to cover right here. Have a great day, great week, and I'll talk to you soon.